think we go back and fight a couple of these guys, Jan and all these guys, and I've been saying it for years. As soon as Merab believes he can start finishing people, we're gonna go back on the you know on the rematch, rerun and finish all those guys. That's my goal.
I saw a very sober birthday speech from Nina. Has she helped you up your social media game? She's pretty killing it on the content side.
She's awesome, like you can say whatever, but like as a person, she is a solid person, solid heart, good people.
What do you want to see next for her?
Yeah, man, I've been with Khalil for a long time. I think the sky is the limit for Khalil. I think he's going to keep getting better and improve, and I think, we're going to go on that title run again.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to one of the greatest coaches in mixed martial arts. What a year you're having. Just got back from Georgia, just got back from Baku. The team killed it. John Wood in the house. What's going on, man?
Man, thank you. Yeah, it's been a hell of a run lately. The whole year has been a great year. Everybody's winning. You can't really ask for much more. Winning on the big stage, winning on little stages. Team's killing it, man. And it's just a testament to the culture and the coaching staff we have, and everybody, very, very much a team effort. So it's been amazing. Been doing this for a long time, and we've had a lot of good years. It's just obviously the level that we're doing it at right now. And, anytime you start putting championships in the mix, then you get a lot more eyes on you. But it's been a really crazy few months.
I guess often people just see the end result and they don't see the years of grind and the less glamorous stuff. How did you end up here? Like, what made you fall in love with this game? And was it the goal to just be the best MMA coach, in the world?
Yeah, honestly, this is my 22nd year in the gym. So I've owned this gym for 22 years, and I got into it in the beginning as a fighter. I came up with Forrest Griffin and started with Frank Mir out of the same gym. And long story short, I got into a car accident when I was like 23, 24 years old, and I had a little bit of a, got a settlement, and I essentially knew that MMA was my love, and I wanted to do it as a lifelong thing. I knew that I never wanted to work for anybody else. And when I found MMA, I was like, oh, this is my thing. And I never had the thought process of like, oh, I'm going to be a world championship fighter. I saw a lot of, I had a lot of, obviously I was around a lot of great guys. Frank when he was a world champion, Forrest when he was a world champion, and I just knew that I wanted to do it. And I thought that I just always loved coaching. As soon as I started coaching jiu-jitsu tournaments when I was younger, I just fell in love with coaching. I was like, man, this is my thing. So I really kind of played both sides, fighting and coaching for a while, started the business, and learned real quick that it's just like any other thing. Is it's a business, and if you want it to work, you have to treat it such as a business. And so there was a lot of hard years, but I really have a never say die attitude towards everything I do. And I've been blessed and fortunate to be around some of the best in the world since the beginning of this coaching journey. Like I said, I was in Forrest Griffin's corner when he won titles, and I started cornering. I think one of my first corners in the UFC was Evan Tanner. I've been doing this for, like I said, old school days, and so I came up just grinding and wanting to achieve everything that we're achieving now. And it's crazy because I knew I always had the wherewithal to know that we were going to be here as a team and as a coach. It's just kind of crazy when it all happens. So like I said, this is 22 years of becoming an overnight success, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a lot of hard work, and a lot of blood, sweat, and a lot of tears. So but here we are, and it's all paid off, and I absolutely couldn't think about doing anything else in my life.
I mean, speaking of hard work, Merab and you seem to have that in common. The guy's creating quite a legacy, and you guys are doing it together. What were your first impressions of him when you started working with him?
Man, first impressions of Merab, I was like, this is a crazy dude. He's a crazy little, because Merab's been at the gym for about 5-6 years now. So there's like, he's been a full-time guy for at least 5 years. And when he first came in, the first year was very much just, I liked him right off the bat. He's a lovable, likable, crazy guy. He's a guy you want to have around. He's just a great person. So right off the bat, I was like, okay, man, I kind of let guys like that. He came from New York and was kind of floating in and out for the first year. And I let him kind of make the decision that he wanted to be at the gym. And the first impression over the first year, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to coach this guy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through to him. He just was sparring and was crazy and was just doing his thing. He's a little Tasmanian devil on the mat. But as we grew and I started to kind of figure out, oh shit, there's a little something to this guy. And then we started really working after the Jose Aldo fight. We started working one on one. And at first, I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure when I first started coaching him if he was even understanding or even liked what I was doing. Seemed like he's kind of got like MMA ADD. When he's on the mat, he's got 10,000 things going. He's doing it. He's exactly what you think he would be like on the mat. But I realized after a very quick period of time that he just learned different. I would teach him something one day and I wasn't really sure if he even liked it or if he even got it or if he was in practice. Didn't seem like he was paying attention. But then the next day he would come back and sparring and do everything perfect, like dead perfect. I was like, this dude wasn't even paying attention in class. He wasn't even drilling the move. Like, what? This is weird. And so I spent more time just watching and focusing and just really figured out he just learns different. And once I figured out how he learns and how to work with him, then it was off to the races, and it's still very much that way today. Like we've kind of figured each other out over, like I said, the last 5 years. And I would have never guessed I'd be sitting here being a liar if I thought that he would have become like one of my best students, like one of my best fighters, learns like literally everything you teach the guy. He goes and applies it the next day in sparring. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch. And I love working with him, but I did not think it was going to be that way.
With John Jones kind of retiring, Connor, is he going to fight again? Does the UFC, is there a need for stars? And I think Merab is fully a star now. Is he
Yeah.
coming up at the
Yeah.
right time in that regard?
Yeah, I do think so. I really think that I think that the UFC has spent more time building the UFC lately than building the stars, and maybe some of the investments that they've had in the past. I don't know what switched. It seemed to be that they used to be very in the star making business, but a lot of times I feel like maybe those stars have tried to overshadow the UFC, and I don't think they like that. So I think they've organically let some things happen with guys, and also too, the level of competition has gotten so much bigger, and the gaps have closed between everybody, so everybody's so freaking good. It's hard to separate yourself from the pack. Like when the Connors, the John Joneses, or these guys, GSP, came on and they were just so much better than everybody. That gap has closed a lot. Like, but to answer your question, I think Marab has become a star organically, and he's done it the right way and done it the hard way. And I truly think he's at the right time. I do believe he is the biggest star, can be the biggest star in the UFC right now. He's a lovable dude. He's never going to get popped for a drug test. You're never going to hear him in trouble with the law. He takes every single picture he can possibly do. Like getting this guy, like walking anywhere with him is impossible now because he will stop and take every picture, right, every autograph. He's the best, like, and he truly honestly loves it and embraces it. And I think that what he's done and how he's done it is impressive, and I do believe that he is going to be one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now.
Is anybody going to touch him in this weight class right now?
I Listen, it's the fight game, and we've all seen crazy shit happen, and there's people that's the crazy thing about MMA, and the good thing and the bad thing is that anybody can win or lose on any given day, and the best fighter doesn't always win, and that's what makes this sport great. So it'd be stupid for me to say that no, he's never going to lose, or he's never going to this, or he's never going to that, or it can't happen. It can happen. Do I think it's going to happen? Not anytime soon. I don't see anybody out there right now. There's some young bucks on the horizon that I think will eventually give us a run. And, father time always catches up with everybody at some point in time, but I don't think there's chance that Merab's slowing down anytime soon. And I've said this over and over and over. The guy is only getting better. We're at like 50, 60%, downloading information right now, and still he's got so much farther to go as far as improving. His ceiling is just it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. So I do not see anybody taking that title off of him anytime soon. I know we've probably got a potential match with Sanhagen coming up, and I think that's a great matchup. He's a tricky guy. He's a guy I really like to watch as a fan. But I just think we've been in that fight before, and I think that Merab will adjust and adapt, and then obviously, they're going to push Umar on us again, and I think people don't have any idea how bad of a camp that was for us, how messed up and how sick and how injured he was for that camp. So I think that I'll go on record right now and probably say that we fight him again, we'll finish him. And I think we go back and fight a couple of these guys, Jan and all these guys, and I've been saying it for years. As soon as Merab believes he can start finishing people, we're gonna go back on the you know on the rematch, rerun and finish all those guys. That's my goal.
He's already being talked about as the best bantamweight of all time. What about just full stop MMA fighters like the greats? That you mentioned GSP, John Jones. Where is he up there with those guys?
You know, I think that comes with time. Everybody bases like to get yeah, I do think he's already the best bantamweight. His body of work, and again, I've said this, if those were all title defenses, we're not even. I mean, if he had beat all those guys in title defenses, we're looking at, yeah, he's already there. He's there with GSP. He's there with those greats. I think you have to defend that title a certain amount of time, hold on to it, and be active, which he's going to do. And then I think you get in that conversation. But I think he's going to be at the end when this is all said and done. People are already putting him in that category. It's funny because, like I mentioned before the Umar fight, that hey, he beats Umar, he's considered the GOAT in bantamweight. People gave me a bunch of shit about that. Oh yeah, and then he did it, and then he's, oh man, I think he's the GOAT. Other people jumped on board. It was okay. Hey, I think he's gonna finish. Start finishing fighter. Oh, you don't know your fighter. He's not a finisher, but he can be. He finishes somebody. Now all of a sudden, people are talking about him and as being, generational talent, like things that aren't being, that you don't hear. And I think it's one that he really can be. There is, like you said, a lack of stars and a lack of people that are doing what he's doing right now, and at the level he's doing it. So I think he just needs a little more time, more title defenses, and then when all is said and done, I think his name will be up there. And I think that, you know, there's not going to be any asterisks next to it. There's not going to be any, well, it's going to be a clean run.
I've seen people compare him to somebody like Alex Volkanovski, who just dominated and become one of the best featherweights ever. And he only really suffered adversity when he moved weight classes and took on big challenges. Is it bantamweight for Merab, or is two divisions in the future?
Listen, I hope we get to the point, and I think we're almost. I mean, we're already kind of at that point that people are asking, or mentioning these super fights. We should do this and do that, or he should fight Pantoja. But I want, for me personally, I would love to see him stay at bantamweight and defend for as long as he can. Run through everybody, secure that legendary status, secure his name in the Mount Rushmore of those guys. Kick a couple of those guys off the mountain, put his face up there. That's what I'd like to see. And then, those super fights, if it comes to, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of money and life-changing money and things that make sense, then yeah. But going up, I don't think there's any kind of thought process right now for us or need for us to go up. He's not a giant guy. He's a decent sized bantamweight, but he's not like overly tall. He's thick and he's strong and he can compete. Obviously, he trains with a lot of guys that are, a weight class or two above him, no problem. But again, I don't think he needs to do that until it's time to do that, until he just gets bored. But I think we're right now focused on going back and beating some of these guys again, beating the new talent and becoming one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, especially in his division. But I want to put him up on that Mount Rushmore.
Georgia looked like a good time. What was the highlight for you?
Oh man, that was crazy, dude. Like beautiful country, beautiful people, amazing trip. Something that like I'll never forget. You know, like we said, we have a lot of Georgians in the gym. And obviously, he's brought a lot of his buddies and people and great people. You know, and just to get out there, just the amount of love that is there for him, not even for him, for me, it was crazy. I was overwhelmed with like people wanting autographs, and it was just it was crazy everywhere you went. Like he's done something for Georgia. He put Georgia on the map, and they appreciate it. They like he wears his country on his heart. Like he literally got it tattooed there, and he does everything he does for that country, and they see it and they support it and they love it. Like I've never seen the amount of love and support from a country for a guy in honest, like just honest, good people. It was a amazing trip to an amazing country.
I saw a very sober birthday speech from Nina. Has she helped you up your social media game? She's pretty killing it on the content side.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. That was the first trip that I've like obviously I've interacted and seen her and behind the scenes in UFC, but it's the first trip where I got to really get to know her and interact and man, she's awesome. Like you can say whatever and but like as a person, she is a solid person, solid heart, good people. And I really enjoyed getting to know them and having the time. And yeah, the she's been pushing the coach of the year thing for me, and I love it, and that's awesome. But good, just she's a good one. I like her a lot, and like I said, that was part of the really good part of the trip of getting to know her.
We've got Kayla Harrison potentially. Well, it looks like she'll fight Amanda. How do you see that fight going? And do you like that fight in terms of like generational, like two of the best female fighters to do it?
Yeah, listen, I'm a huge Amanda Nunez fan. Very good friend of mine. Her and Nina are somebody I've known for a long time, and she spent a lot of time in my gym. And I coached for her on the season that she did the Ultimate Fighter. I went in and helped her coach for that. Like so, I'm a big fan, and I'm a little biased, but it's just kind of one of those things that time out of the game hasn't proven to be, a great thing for a lot of people. So you just never know what you're going to get. You never know what part, like, is this person, able to still bring that fire back? Are they able to have the same motivations that they had before? Especially somebody like her who's achieved, she's the goat of women. Like there is no better person than her. Like she's like there's a lot of dudes I think she would mess up, in the UFC. And so I would say this: if she comes back anywhere near the form she used to be, I would never bet against her ever, like against anybody. If she comes back fired up, healthy, and is able to perform like she used to, I love that fight for her. I just don't see how Kayla's awesome. She's an amazing fighter, and I think she has the potential to hold on to that belt for a long time, barring Amanda not coming back and snatching it from her.
You just got a massive win for Khalil. I think he's up to number 4 in the rankings now. I spent a lot of time interviewing, Jonathan Haggerty and his brother. So I see Christian out in Asia a lot. How is it, the synergy working with one of Britain's, top Muay Thai coaches? And how proud are you for Khalil? What do you want to see next for him?
Yeah, man. I've been with Khalil for a long time. I think we're, getting into the 12, 13, 14 years or something. Is basically his whole career. And Khalil's always trying new things out and testing the waters. And he's always had a good love for Muay Thai. So when they connected over there, it's just a piece that fitted for him and somebody that he can get in there and smash some pads with and do some stuff. And Christian's a great guy and awesome. I think he fit the style of what Khalil was looking for in some areas. Like I said, to hammer out some of his Muay Thai and obviously then blend it back into MMA. So obviously Knowles is a great coach, and he's done very well in Muay Thai, and making the crossover to MMA, it was it's been very good to work with him and very easy to work with him. And there was, no egos involved in that part. So whatever works for the fighter, whatever the fighter needs, that's something, over the years that I've had to learn of like, okay, whatever I think is best might not be best, but it's whatever's best for the fighter. And when you see results and you get the results, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So I think that's a good relationship for him. And I think it's, I think that's something that he'll continue with. So it's been pretty cool. And like I said, it's awesome to get to work with good people. And he seems like a very, down to earth, good guy, And so, again, this camp was kind of I don't want to say shit show, but it was rough. He came out and said that he did tear his meniscus. So there was literally 3 or 4 weeks of really nothing. Like it was tough. So for him, it was basically rehabbing the knee, getting stem cells in the knee. So for him to be able to go out and perform and do what he did, pretty much 50% on one leg, was pretty amazing. And I think if we have a healthy fight camp, that goes even way worse for Jamal. But I'm very happy and proud of him, and the fact that when fighters can go and perform at that level and overcome those kind of adversities, it just opens up so much more. It unlocks so many more doors for them, and knowing that you can go 5 rounds with a former world champion on one leg. So I think the sky is the limit for Khalil. I think he's going to keep getting better and improve, and I think we're going to go on that title run again.
What's next for him? Yuri, someone like that, another former champ?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we're looking, that makes sense. You've got Yuri and Olberg and um those guys that are above him. You got Jan right below, but I don't think Jan, wants to fight anybody but for the title, which I don't see that happening. So maybe that's a fight we get. But I know we're looking up to make sure that we get a fight that hopefully the next fight. If I think Yuri is another banger. I don't see anybody not wanting to see that. I don't see that fight going the distance. You know, Somebody's getting KO'd in that fight for sure. I think, obviously I know who my money's on, but that's a crazy fight. I think that'd be a freaking, barn burner of a fight for the fans.
I love that fight. John, I don't want to keep you. I know you're a busy man. This has been amazing. Been excited to interview you for years now. So glad we finally got it done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're the man. Respect. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.